You're standing in your kitchen. Something happens. A text, a memory, a movie scene you weren't even that invested in. And suddenly, without your permission, salt water is coming out of your eyeballs. Stop and actually think about that for a second, because it's one of the strangest things your body does. You didn't get injured, you're not in danger, nothing is physically wrong with you, and yet your body decided the correct response to an emotion was to leak. Here's the part that should genuinely bother you. No other animal on earth does this. Not one. Dogs don't cry when they're sad. Elephants don't cry at funerals, even though they absolutely grieve. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, do not produce a single emotional tear, no matter what they're feeling. Humans are, as far as we can tell, the only species in the entire animal kingdom that cries because of how we feel. So why does a bag of water and protein sitting behind your face suddenly decide to overflow when you're moved, heartbroken, or watching a dog reunite with its owner in a video you definitely didn't need to click on at 1 a.m.? Let's start with what your eyes are actually doing, because most people don't realize you're producing tears constantly right now, whether you're crying or not. There are three completely different types. Basal tears are the boring ones, a thin, constant film keeping your eyeballs from drying out like old fruit. Reflex tears are the defensive ones, triggered by smoke, onions, or getting punched in the face by a badminton shuttlecock you didn't see coming. And then there's the third kind, emotional tears. And here's where it gets weird, because emotional tears are not the same liquid as the other two, chemically different. Researchers analyzing emotional tears found they contain elevated levels of stress hormones, things like ACTH and prolactin, compounds tied directly to emotional and psychological stress. Your body isn't just leaking, it's excreting something, which raises an actual scientific question that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Are we crying partly to physically get stress hormones out of our bodies? That theory actually has a name. It's sometimes called the tears as a release valve hypothesis, the idea that emotional crying might function as a literal physiological pressure release, flushing out chemicals your body doesn't want sitting around at high concentrations. It's not fully proven, but it's taken seriously, and if true, it means crying isn't just an emotional display, it's biological laundry. But that still doesn't explain why it happens on the outside where everyone can see it. Because here's the thing, evolution usually punishes weakness, vulnerability, announcing to the room that you are in this moment not okay. In a species obsessed with status and hierarchy, crying should be a liability. So why did it survive natural selection instead of getting quietly deleted? The leading answer is something researchers call the honest signal theory, and it's genuinely one of the more elegant ideas in evolutionary psychology. The logic goes like this: words are cheap. You can say I'm devastated while barely meaning it. You can fake a laugh. You can fake a smile badly. We've all seen it. But crying is expensive to fake convincingly, and everyone around you knows it. Tears are hard to summon on command, which is exactly what makes them valuable as a signal. When someone cries in front of you, your brain treats it as more credible than almost any spoken claim of distress, because faking it is so much harder than just saying words. In other words, tears might have evolved specifically because they're difficult to lie with. And there's a physical side effect that might not be accidental either. Crying blurs your vision. Genuinely, mechanically blurs it. Some researchers have proposed that this isn't a flaw, it's a feature, because blurred vision during intense emotional distress temporarily disables your ability to accurately aim a punch, throw a weapon, or otherwise escalate a conflict. If you're in the middle of a fight and you start sobbing, you become biologically less dangerous, which means crying might double as a built-in ceasefire button, forcing a pause exactly when tempers are highest. Now, here's a detail that quietly breaks the crying equals weakness narrative completely. Human infants are born without emotional tears. Newborns cry constantly, loudly, at 3 a.m. specifically, but for the first month or two of life, they produce almost no actual tears. The wailing exists before the tears do, which tells us something important. Crying started as a sound, a signal signal to summon a caregiver, long before it became a visible, tear-producing display. The tears seem to have been layered on top of an older, more primal alarm system, possibly to make an already effective distress signal even more emotionally undeniable to whoever's listening. So, if crying is this powerful social tool, why don't other social, intelligent animals use it too? Elephants have complex grief rituals. They stand over dead herd members for days. Chimpanzees show clear signs of depression and loss, but none of them cry emotional tears, despite very obviously feeling something. The current best explanation is that emotional tears require an extremely specific combination: advanced social bonding, complex enough cognition to associate an internal feeling with an external display, and, crucially, a social structure where signaling vulnerability actually pays off instead of getting you killed or abandoned. Humans, living in tight, interdependent groups where being seen as trustworthy and emotionally readable mattered for survival, may be the only species that hit that exact evolutionary sweet spot. Which brings us back to your kitchen and that unexpected wave of salt water. It's easy to feel embarrassed by crying, like it's a malfunction, a moment of losing control in front of people. But if the science holds up, you're doing something almost no other creature that has ever existed on this planet can do. You're running a chemical release valve, broadcasting an unfakeable signal of honesty, and possibly defusing conflict, all through your tear ducts, all without thinking about it once. It's not weakness. It's one of the most specialized pieces of social technology your body owns, and it's been quietly running in the background of the entire human story. In every culture, in every era, completely involuntary and completely unmistakable. So next time it happens, in your kitchen, in your car, at a wedding, during a commercial you weren't ready for, remember, you're not malfunctioning. You're doing something the elephants, the wolves, and every chimpanzee that has ever lived simply cannot do. You're being unmistakably, unfakeably human.